Expert, Beijing uses high technology to intensify persecution of religions. Southeast Asia is replacing China as new favorite for foreign investment. Honda lays off 900 contract workers and Toyota ceases some operations in China. Public investors choose India instead of China for 2024. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Expert, Beijing uses high technology to intensify persecution of religions. Jilin Province Falun Gong practitioner Ma Changqing was caught on camera while posting Falun Gong truth clarification materials and was kidnapped. On September 18 this year, he was tortured to death in Jilin prison. This case has caused experts and scholars to worry that Beijing is using high technology to intensify the persecution of religious believers. Regarding Ma Changqing's case, Liang Xiaohua, a former Chinese lawyer and head of the Citizens Court Lawyer Group, said, "The CCP's persecution of religions, especially the persecution of Falun Gong, is unbelievable. For more than 2 decades, it has used various methods and has done everything. In the process of persecuting Falun Gong practitioners, Beijing uses cameras and big data technology to conduct all-round surveillance on Falun Gong practitioners." Liang Xiaohua said, "The Chinese Communist Party is like the kind of surveillance in 1984 that monitors all aspects of society, all the time. But, it's strange, its surveillance is very convenient to arrest people. You raise a sign, and they will catch you quickly. But, you see, women and children are abducted every year, and some teenagers disappear inexplicably, and then cannot be found. The CCP's surveillance is only for what it needs, not what the people need." He said that Falun Gong is a very peaceful religion and it, Falun Gong, teaches truthfulness, compassion and forbearance, these good things. Why does it continue to persecute? Jiang Zemin, the former leader of the Communist Party of China, ordered the eradication of Falun Gong in 1999 out of jealousy and fear that the number of Falun Gong practitioners exceeded the number of members of the Communist Party of China. In the past 24 years, the number of Falun Gong practitioners who have been persecuted to death by the CCP and whose names and other personal information have been confirmed has reached 5,010. From January to October this year alone, 1,008 Falun Gong practitioners in mainland China were illegally sentenced. From January to September, 166 Falun Gong practitioners died of persecution, including Ma Changqing. Due to the CCP's information blockade and severe persecution, the above figures are just the tip of the iceberg. Liang Xiaohua said that the Chinese Communist Party's kidnapping, detention, false accusation and abuse in prison of Falun Gong practitioner Ma Changqing were all illegal, and those involved must bear responsibility. Ariel Del Turco, director of the Religious Freedom Center of the Family Research Council, a think tank in Washington, D.C., said, "The Chinese Communist Party has massively restricted religious activities and suppressed religious minorities. This kind of religious persecution targets those of all faiths. Christians, Muslims, Tibetan Buddhists, Falun Gong practitioners and any other believers who may conflict with the party's ideology are all victims of the CCP's suppression." She said, "As the CCP uses new technologies to strengthen its control and suppress religious believers, the CCP's suppression of religion will continue to worsen." Regarding Ma Changqing's case, lawyer Wu Xiaoping said that Beijing conducts long-term surveillance on sensitive individuals such as Falun Gong. It is very common for Beijing to use surveillance technology to monitor Falun Gong practitioners. The Justice Bureau of Chaoyang City, Liaoning Province has jurisdiction over 179 judicial offices in the city. The methods they use to control Falun Gong practitioners who have been illegally suspended are as follows. The monitored personnel are videotaped, fingerprinted, and recorded in order to use big data for gesture recognition and voice recognition. Their mobile phones are tracked and they are not allowed to leave the local area. Their whereabouts are reported every month. The judicial office calls from time to monitor whether the person was home, and requires the practitioner to go to the judicial office every month to write a document, sign it, and be fingerprinted. On January 5, 2023, Hunan Falun Gong practitioner Kai Xiaoling went to the Exit Entry Administration Hall of Tongshu County, Kaifeng City, where her registered residence is, to apply for a passport. She was told that she was under border control by the Shunhe District Public Security Bureau of Kaifeng City and it would expire on January 26. On January 28, Kai Xiaoling went to the Exit-Entry Administration Hall to apply for a passport again, but was rejected. On August 2, the Exit-Entry Administration Hall received a notice to conduct border control on Kai Xiaoling indefinitely. Currently, a webcam is installed in front of Kai Xiaoling's home. She still lives with surveillance, harassment, and border controls. Wu Xiaoping said that Beijing not only monitors Chinese people, but also exports surveillance technology and equipment overseas. In fact, the Chinese Communist Party uses so-called non-high-end chips to meet its needs for surveillance equipment and AI technology. It not only uses this so-called AI technology in its own country, but also exports it to Southeast Asian countries, to Africa. Whether it is in camera technology, AI technology, or mobile phone production, the CCP can still supply such products to the world normally. Wu Xiaoping suggested that the U.S. government should expand sanctions against Beijing. The United States should completely ban the supply of chips to the CCP, including high-end and low-end chips. Southeast Asia is replacing China as new favorite for foreign investment. In 2022, Southeast Asia attracted a record high of foreign direct investment, reaching $222 billion. The United States is the leader in an attempt to reduce its dependence on China, while Chinese companies are following suit and moving to Southeast Asia. Taiwanese businessmen are also investing heavily in Southeast Asia. Foreign capital flows to Southeast Asia. The United States is the leader. According to data from the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, during the period from 2017 to 2022 when the China-US trade friction escalated, foreign direct investment attracted by 11 Southeast Asian countries increased by 40%, exceeding the increase in foreign investment in China, Latin America, and Africa. The United States is the global leader in capital investment projects in Southeast Asia, spending $74.3 billion on building factories and other projects between 2018 and 2022. According to the Financial Times Foreign Direct Investment Cross-Border Tracking System. U.S. companies in Southeast Asia mainly focus their investments in semiconductor-related industries in countries such as Singapore and Malaysia. The U.S. State Department said in a statement after President Biden's visit to Vietnam in September, Vietnam is expected to be a partner in ensuring the diversity and resiliency of semiconductor supply chains. In response, U.S. companies such as Marvell Technology and Synopsys have expressed their eagerness to invest in Vietnam. Amkor Technology opened a semiconductor factory in Bac Ninh province in northern Vietnam in October. The $1.6 billion factory is designed to become the U.S. company's largest production base in the world and create about 10,000 jobs. The main purpose of U.S. companies accelerating investment in Southeast Asia is to reduce over-reliance on China's supply chain and achieve supply chain diversification. Last Monday, the White House announced nearly 30 new measures to enhance critical supply chains, emphasizing cooperation with allies, covering medicine, semiconductors, energy, and critical minerals. Chinese companies moved to Southeast Asia in an attempt to maintain export. At the same time, Chinese investment in Southeast Asia is also increasing. Between 2018 and 2022, China's investment in Southeast Asian countries reached $68.5 billion, closely following the United States. Chinese companies mainly build projects such as electric vehicles in Thailand and invest in mining in Indonesia. In July, Malaysia said major Chinese carmaker Zhejiang Geely Holding Group would invest $10 billion to build a car production base in the western Malaysian state of Perak. The company is also considering building an electric vehicle factory in Thailand. Chinese companies hope to continue to maintain exports to the United States and Europe through factories in Southeast Asian countries amid continued tensions and deterioration in China-US and China-European relations. Taiwan's investment in Southeast Asia grows explosively. Taiwan's Minister of Economic Affairs Wang Meihua recently accepted an exclusive interview with Nikkei Asia and pointed out that Taiwan's investment in Southeast Asia and South Asia really exceeded its investment in China for the first time in 2022. We believe that due to the impact of tensions in U.S.-China trade relations, this trend will only continue. In 2018, after the trade war between the United States and China intensified, Taiwan's major technology suppliers accelerated their diversification away from China. And many U.S. customers are asking their suppliers to build production capacity in Taiwan and Southeast Asian countries such as Vietnam, Thailand, and India. Wang Meihua said that this trend has become more obvious this year. She pointed out that in the first 9 months of 2023, investment by Taiwanese companies in Southeast Asia and India reached $4.3 billion, while investment in China during the same period was only $1.26 billion. Vietnam has attracted investment from major manufacturers such as Han Hai, Wistron, Quanta, Pegatron, Compal, and Inventec, and has become a major center for the electronics industry. Officials from the Ministry of Economic Affairs analyzed that Vietnam's low labor costs, geographical advantages of neighboring China, and many preferential agreements signed with various countries will support the speed of the relocation of the production base of electronic component manufacturers. Recently, the Chinese Communist Party launched an investigation into Taiwan's so-called trade barriers and stated that it will be completed the day before the presidential election on January 13 next year. Wang Meihua pointed out that this move was very politically motivated. She warned, "We expect Chinese Communist Party's means of exerting economic pressure will only increase, not decrease." Honda lays off 900 contract workers and Toyota ceases some operations in China. Honda Motor said on Saturday, December 2, that it will lay off about 900 contract workers at a joint venture in China due to reduced production. Honda's joint venture with Chinese state-owned Guangzhou Automobile Group, GAC, hires workers through dispatch agencies. A spokesman said of the layoffs, "Production is being reduced and dispatch contracts will be terminated." The spokesman said the layoffs were equivalent to 7%, but declined to say which models had been cut. The joint venture has approximately 13,000 employees. Honda, Japan's main automaker after Toyota, is facing strong headwinds in China. Honda's sales in China in the first 10 months of this year fell by about a fifth compared with the same period last year. Honda sold 3.2 million vehicles globally from January to October, helped by strong demand in the United States. Sales in the Chinese market accounts for 30% of total sales. On the same day, Toyota Motor also confirmed that it ceased some operations in China. A spokesman said on Saturday that Toyota Motor Corp has halted production on some aging production lines at a joint venture in China. Earlier media reports said the company had partially halted production due to weak sales. Japan's first and second largest automakers announced layoffs and partial production suspensions in China at a time when a price war in China's auto market is in full swing. Coupled with the economic slowdown, new car sales are sluggish. Japan's Mitsubishi Motors announced on October 24 that it would stop automobile production in its joint venture with Guangzhou Automobile Group Company, Limited in China, and transfer its shares to its Chinese partners. Previously, global automakers such as Hyundai Motor and Stellantis NV have taken measures to restructure their businesses to reduce costs. The European Union recently announced that it would launch a countervailing investigation into the large influx of cheap Chinese electric vehicles into the European market. Public investors choose India instead of China for 2024. Investing in China has never been so hesitant. The latest report shows that 40% of large public fund investors will focus their investments on India in 2024 instead of China. The 2023 Global Public Investor Survey released by the official Monetary and Financial Institutions Forum, OMFIF, on Friday, November 1, showed that India far surpasses China in attracting investment. The report said that public pension funds and sovereign funds from various countries are increasingly interested in India, with nearly 40%, 39% of large fund respondents marking India as the most attractive emerging market. While less than a quarter of respondents chose China, 23%, Brazil was as popular as China, 23%, followed by Mexico, 15%. According to the report, India's attractiveness is linked to relatively strong economic growth and demographics, while it is starting to become more open to foreign investors. In contrast, investors have never been so hesitant to invest in China. The report stated, none of the funds surveyed is optimistic about China's economic prospects, and none expects that the relative returns from investing in Chinese assets will be higher. It continued, the majority of respondents, 73%, emphasize regulation and geopolitical issues. Politics is the main deterrent. One respondent from an Asia-Pacific pension fund said, "We have a negative view on China's prospects but have no strong questions about the ranking of other emerging market economies." Craig Thorburn, research director of the Australian Future Fund, also confirmed that they have reduced their investment in China due to the Chinese Communist Party's increased interference in market sectors and continued challenges to China's economic growth model. Nearly 30% of respondents expect to increase allocations to Europe and North America, but there is little demand for emerging market regions such as Latin America, the Middle East and North Africa, or Sub-Saharan Africa. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.